You are not the future of the pro-life movement. I know people will tell you that you are, and they'll say you're so young and energetic and you make me so excited about the future of the pro-life movement. But you aren't the future. You are the pro-life movement. You are the pro-life movement. You are the heart, you are the core, you are the center of the pro-life movement. And that's one of three things I want you to leave here today remembering is that you are the pro-life movement. And if you don't lead, then who is going to? And finally, you can lead because you have everything inside of you that you need. So why do I say that you are the pro-life movement? Well, to start, 35% of abortions that happen right here in Illinois happen on college-age women. 35% amounts to over 13,000 abortions. You could fill the Chicago theater 3.5 times with the number of abortions that happen on college-age women. And now if you take into consideration the 10 years after college where young women are still heavily influenced by their college experience and their college friends, you have now accounted for 71% of all abortions here in Illinois. That's over 27,000 abortions. That's more college students than attend DePaul University right now in the undergraduate and the graduate school. And we all know that abortion hurts 3 people. It kills an unborn child, it hurts a woman, and it hurts the father. So if we times that number by 3, now we are overflowing Wrigley Field Stadium with the number of people that abortion hurts. You are not the future of the pro-life movement. You are the pro-life movement. Women who are choosing abortion, men who are choosing abortion, they are in your Spanish class. They're living down the hall from you at your dorms. They're standing behind you in line at the cafeteria. Those are who are choosing abortions. And then, if they do choose abortion, it's the walking wounded among us. The women and the men who hurt and the pain that they feel after that abortion. You know, the largest study that I'm aware of to date on the health risk, the mental health risks associated with abortion was published in 2011. And it was published in the prestigious journal, the British Journal of Psychiatry. And it examined over 800,000 women, 168,000 of who had had abortions. And what it found was those women who had abortions, when compared with women who had given birth, were 155% more likely to have mental health problems. They had higher rates of anxiety, depression, alcohol abuse and misuse was up 110%. Marijuana abuse was up 230%. And suicide was up 155%. Abortion is hurting your peers, your classmates. And that's just one study. Studies all around the world in Finland say that those who have abortions, they find higher rates of suicide. You're 6 times more likely to commit suicide if you've had an abortion, they found. Studies all over the world, 53 studies around the world have said there's a correlation between abortion and breast cancer, where the risk goes up between 44% and you become 20 times more likely to get breast cancer. Abortion is hurting your classmates, your friends, your peers. Illinois Right to Life for 48 years has been offering support for women, healing and hope who have had abortions, and for men. And our experiences reflect these studies. One woman, I was counseling on the phone, she said that she was raped and then she was pushed into having an abortion. And she told me, I know this sounds terrible. These are her words, not mine, but she said, I would rather be raped again than to ever have to go through another abortion. I know that sounds terrible, Emily. But the thing is that We as a society try very hard to understand how rape violates a woman and how disgusting it is. She wanted me to know that abortion hurt her even more than that. Another woman told me she can't use the hand dryer in the ladies' room because it makes the same noise that the abortion machine made as it vacuumed out her unborn child. Another I found crying at a party because something had triggered her memory of her abortion, and still others say that it's the song they heard in the waiting room or the smell of the doctor's perfume that made them have nightmares, take them back to that place. The largest healing ministry in the country is run by the Catholic Church, and they reflect the same experiences. You know, one woman, she was sharing with me her abortion story, and she said, I needed one person, just one person to be there for me, and I would have chosen life. She said, I wanted to put my baby up for adoption, but I didn't know how to. Are you going to be that one person? How many other women on your campus are feeling the exact same way? Are you going to be there for them? And if it's not going to be you, then who? Who is it going to be? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, I'm just one person. I'm just a college student. What difference can I make? It is precisely because you are a college student that you will be so successful. And revolutionaries throughout all of history, they have dealt with self-doubt and pure doubt. They were told they couldn't do it, from Rosa Parks to Susan B. Anthony, from Albert Einstein to Wilbur Wright. They were told you couldn't do it, but the thing that makes them different is that they did it anyways. And that's why you read about them in the history books. They stood up to the naysayers, just like Ava did. Ava is a beautiful college-age woman who felt called to lead and went back to her hometown of Glen Ellen and said, I'm going to start a 40 Days for Life prayer vigil campaign outside my local abortion clinic. She went to the local pro-life leaders and told them what she was going to do, and they said, it'll never work. They said, Glen Ellen will never come out. But Ava knew that she had to do it anyways because the cause was the greatest human rights violation of her life. And it didn't matter if she was going to stand up alone, she was going to stand up. Even if she was the only person. She organized that 40 Days for Life prayer vigil, and 600 people later, she finished her first 40 Days for Life campaign. And would you know it, just a few years later, that clinic is now up for sale and is closing down for good. If Ava wasn't going to do it, then who was? That is the power of just one person. So don't ever let anyone tell you you are just one person. One of the greatest pro-life heroes of all time. Well, actually, second greatest. Kevin's the greatest.
My God.
One of the greatest pro-life heroes of all times told this following story. A man named Chris was going to the hospital to visit his dying father. And when he got to the hospital, his father asked him, Chris, will you please pray with me for an end to abortion? And so Chris agreed, and they prayed. And then the next day, they went to the hospital and to visit his father again, and his father asked, will you please pray with me for an end to abortion? And Chris agreed, and they prayed. And now he was nearing his final hours, and Chris visited his father once again, and his father asked, will you pray with me for an end to abortion? And Chris said, no. Let's pray for your healing. Let's pray for our families, pray for peace, but not for an end to abortion. And with all the strength that his dad had left, he pulled Chris in real close. And he said, when I was a young man, I got a woman pregnant. And I pushed until she agreed to have an abortion. I got to the abortion clinic real early. I paid in cash. And then I sat and waited for her to show up. pleased with myself that there was no backing out now. She stood me up that day. Chris, that woman was your mother. That child was you. And little did I know that the child that I didn't want would be the only one with me on my deathbed. Chris, please pray with me for an end to abortion. Now, after Chris's father had passed away, he was having dinner with his friend David and their wives, and Chris told David, he said, David, if we really believe that abortion is the killing of a human person, then why don't we act like it? We should be outside those clinics on our knees, praying to God every day to end abortion. Well, Chris inspired David. He started something within David. And that inspiration led David to found the largest pro-life organization in the world, spanning 35 countries and saving over 11,000 unborn children to date. That organization is 40 Days for Life. And David is David B. Wright, his founder. That is the power of one person standing up. One person, Chris's mother. She said yes to life. And as a result, she has now changed the lives of 11,000 unborn children. Just one person. Now I know what you're thinking. That's nice. You haven't seen me. I am a terrible public speaker. I'm not very articulate. I really would rather not talk about things that are controversial. You don't want me leading. Well, I'm here to tell you that everything you need to be a leader, to end this human rights violation, is within inside of you. I am proof of that. If you read my bio, it will tell you that I've worked directly with Congress on investigations for the pro-life movement. I've helped with lawsuits for the pro-life movement across the country. I've given speeches to 10 people to 5,000 people. I've been on the media, radio, TV, in the news outlets. I've been plenty of times. That's my bio. That's from the outside. But I want you to see me from the inside. And what that looks like is, when I became director of Illinois Rights for Life 3 years ago, I remember the first time a reporter called me. It was from the Huffington Post, and they asked me to comment on an article. I said, I'll respond, but I'm going to email you my response. And then I called my colleague and I begged him to write my quote for me. He emailed it to me, I copied it and I pasted it and I sent it off to the reporter because I was too terrified to write it myself. I served as the president of the March for Life Chicago for 2 years. And for nearly an entire year, leading that entire year, I would have to run board meetings once a month with other pro-life leaders. For a year, every single morning before that meeting, I would wake up with a splitting migraine. Because the night before, I was so nervous to go and run those meetings, I would clench my teeth all night. And the first time I had to give a speech was before 420 of Illinois Right to Life's biggest supporters, businessmen, Governor Huckabee, pro-life leaders, political leaders. And little old me, I was going up on stage, and I was supposed to motivate them. That day, hours before my speech, you would have found me sitting on the bathroom floor in the stall, having a panic attack, just trying to control my breathing. But the bathroom floor taught me something that day, and it wasn't to stop drinking so much. What I learned from the bathroom floor is it's not about me. It doesn't matter if I stumble through my speech a little bit, if I don't give the most perfect quote to the media, or if I'm not the perfect leader of the March for Life Chicago. What I learned was it was about standing up for this injustice, against it. It was about raising a voice for the unborn. It was about righting the wrong that women and men have been sold. When I stepped up onto stage that day, I didn't expect to be giving the Gettysburg Address that would be studied and quoted for centuries. But then again, neither did Abraham Lincoln. Both of us stepped onto that stage to stand up, to right the greatest human rights violation of our time, and to correct the character of our nation that had been destroyed. That's what it means to be a leader. Being a leader is not about being perfect. It's about digging down deep within inside of you and finding out what you are really good at, getting even better at it, and then turning it outward and using it to benefit someone else. Being a leader, opposed to a follower or couch potato, is about going out and standing up in spite of your fears, because your cause requires it, because the cause is so great. That's what being a leader is. It was late in the evening one night when I was getting ready for bed, and I noticed that the Illinois Right to Life Facebook page had a message. And so I pulled up the Facebook message, and it said, and it was a young woman, she said, "My friend's about to have an abortion, can you help?" And so I messaged her right back, and I said, "Yeah, what do you need?" And so she told me she needed a pregnancy resource center in their area. She was going to try and get her friend to the pregnancy help center before she had the abortion. And so I sent her that information, and then I told her, I said, find the fear that is driving her to choose abortion. Find out what that is. And so she got back to me, and she said their fear is HIV. You see, the mom and the dad, they're engaged, and they both have HIV, and they're afraid that their child's going to be sick. And so they're going to have an abortion. And I did some quick research, and I found from the government information on the health and well-being of children who are born to HIV parents. And I sent it off, and I said, it is manageable. The children have very low risks of getting HIV. And then I promised her it wouldn't preclude the child from being adopted into a loving home if that's what they chose as well. And then she said, their appointment is at 3 p.m. today. Please pray. And so we prayed and we waited until we got another Facebook message, and this one exclaimed, they're keeping the baby. Now, I'm not expecting this child to go on to spark the founding of the largest pro-life organization in the world, or to save 11,000 unborn children. But I'm not going to rule it out either. My point is that being a leader is not always about going out and doing something grand gesture. Being a leader is sometimes just answering a Facebook message, or doing some research, or calming your friends' fears. It's about being there for people when they need you. It's about encouraging them. Now, if I'm so bold to say, I would say that pro-lifers in Illinois were a slightly different breed than the rest of the Midwest of pro-lifers. I'd say we're a little bit more resilient. We're a tiny bit more hopeful. We're full of a little bit more fortitude. Because it's really easy for us to stand here and to gaze over the border of Missouri and Wisconsin and Indiana and see them passing pro-life law after law, see their abortion numbers so low, and think, it must be nice to have so much success. But what if I told you that the idea of Illinois being, and this is what Planned Parenthood calls Illinois, the oasis of the Midwest, for women who want to have an abortion, they all send them to Illinois. What if I told you that this being the crown jewel of Planned Parenthood was all just a farce? It was a smoke screen that Planned Parenthood is putting up because of pink-colored paint flashing talking points. That the days of their oasis are starting to dry up. Then I would tell you that over the past 6 years, the number of people who visit Planned Parenthood have declined by 72,000 visits. The number of women who seek out Planned Parenthood services of childbearing age, 2.3% in Illinois. That means 98% of women of childbearing age go someplace else for their health care. Abortions in Illinois have reached their lowest level since 1973. And despite the most pro-abortion president in the history of our country, abortions continue to decline year after year after year in Illinois. The Illinois pro-life movement is on fire. Now, I just laid out there for you all the work that your college classmates who came before you has done, that we as a pro-life movement here in Illinois have accomplished. And so now it is up to you. Are you going to continue to help us turn Illinois pro-life and take back that crown jewel of the abortion industry? They've stuck their stake here in Illinois and it's starting to crack. Are you going to be the pro-life movement? And if you aren't, then who's going to? Look within you. Pull out that leader, because your classmates, your friends, they need you right now. 71% of abortions surround you. So now I'm going to ask all of you guys to stand up, because leaders stand. And I'm going to ask you, will you say yes to life? Let me hear your yes.
Yes. Yes.
Will you face your fears and instead overcome them so that you can move forward in the pro-life movement? Let me hear your yes.
Yes. Yes.
And will you accept that through no problem of your own, you didn't bring this on you, but the abortion movement has now been laid on your shoulders and it's up to you to eradicate it? Will you say yes to life?
Yes. Yes.
Let me hear your yes to life again.
Yes. Yes.
Come on, one more time.
Yes.
Now go do it. Yeah. This is how I give myself a standing ovation.